Welcome to Discover You Radio's discussion. Stay tuned as Robert Simmons and Rita Fox go into a deep dive.
There's a method to the madness of the customer who rewords everything 4 or 5 different times. Give them the same answer over and over again. Your Guide to Customer Service by Brandon Eagle on Amazon and Kindle.
You can sure get a lot of information out of those short briefs. Welcome to episode number 45 of The Deep Dive, where we are going to get into the source material of Chapter 2, titled The Last Minute Pickup, from Brandon Eagle's book called Your Guide to Customer Service, the Mirror Edition.
Right, and it's a really fascinating chapter.
It really is. I mean, we're basically looking at this intense daily clash, right? This collision between customer entitlement and employee boundaries.
Yeah, exactly. It happens almost universally at the very end of the workday.
So whether you are a service worker who has, felt that sudden spike of anxiety when a customer starts banging on a locked door while you're just trying to get home.
Or honestly, if you're a customer who occasionally finds yourself running 5 minutes late and you're wondering why everyone inside is making such a massive deal out of it.
Right. So our mission today is to dissect the psychology of that, the systemic realities of closing time. And to do that, I want to start by firmly planting you, the listener, in the physical reality of this moment. Let's step into the shoes of a service advisor. The source text from Brandon Eagle paints this incredibly vivid sensory picture. The day is officially done. The final repair order, which the industry calls an RO, has been finalized.
Right.
And I just wanted to linger on the atmosphere in that room for a second. The constant grating ringing of the multi-line phones has finally stopped.
Finally,
The computers are logging off. The overhead lights are dimmed to that sort of half-power security setting,
Yeah, and the physical relief there is palpable. Eagle notes that advisors take what he calls that first deep breath of relief that only service people understand.
Right.
And we really need to unpack what that breath actually signifies, because throughout an 8 or 10-hour shift, a service advisor is basically performing.
Yeah, performing is the perfect word for it.
Right. They are managing hundreds of micro-interactions, absorbing customer anxieties about really expensive car repairs, translating technical jargon from the mechanics back to the customer.
It's a lot of emotional labor.
A massive amount. It's an act of sustained emotional labor, maintaining that professional, welcoming facade. So when the main doors finally lock, that physiological shift happens. Shoulders drop.
The customer service smile dissolves.
Exactly. The smile just vanishes into a resting face. The advisor is no longer a representative of a corporate brand. They're transitioning back into a regular human being with an actual life outside those walls.
And it is precisely in that vulnerable moment of transition that our antagonist appears. The text introduces us to last minute Sally or Larry, depending on the day.
It's always a Sally or a Larry.
Right. And what strikes me as so bizarre about the description of Sally pulling into the parking lot is the utter lack of urgency.
Oh, yeah.
Because if I know I'm arriving somewhere right at the wire, I'm practically jogging. I mean, I'm sweating.
Oh, totally. Me too.
But the book says there is, quote, no rush, no apology, no awareness, just this casual, leisurely glide into a parking space.
And that lack of urgency is a really crucial behavioral tell. It reveals this profound disconnect in how the consumer perceives shared reality.
How so?
Well, Sally walks up to the main glass door. The hours of operation are clearly posted in bold vinyl lettering right there at eye level.
You literally can't miss them.
Right. She looks through the tinted glass. She sees the dark lobby. She might even see the advisor inside, visibly putting on a winter coat or, grabbing their keys off the desk.
Yeah.
And any objective observer would process those visual cues and conclude, oh, I missed the window. The business is closed. But Sally's brain executes this incredible gymnastics routine to avoid that conclusion.
Because accepting that reality means accepting inconvenience. And I feel like the modern consumer is just allergic to inconvenience.
Very true.
So the physical actions that follow are almost comical, but as the text points out, deeply frustrating for the person on the inside.
Yeah, the cupped hands.
Yes. Sally knocks on the glass. When the lock doesn't magically disengage, she cups her hands around her eyes and peers through the dark glass. The specific imagery Eagle uses, calling the customer a confused raccoon, is just perfect.
It's so accurate. And then they jiggle the handle a second time.
Right, like testing to see if the laws of physics have altered in the last 3 seconds.
Exactly. And then comes the most infuriating part. They start waving frantically at the staff who are very clearly off the clock.
Yeah, and this is the critical juncture where boundary testing turns into a boundary violation.
Yeah.
Because for the seasoned service advisor, the immediate instinct, which is honed by years of getting burned, is to pretend they do not see the waving customer.
Just look down, keep walking.
Right, because
Yeah.
legally and mentally, the employee is off the clock. But the late customer refuses to accept that invisible barrier. The lengths they will go to, which Eagle categorizes as the sneak in, are staggering.
They really are. They stop treating the business like a retail establishment and start casing it like they are planning a heist.
That is exactly what it sounds like. They circle the perimeter of the building looking for a weakness, testing side doors, bay doors, employee entrances.
They will actively exploit human reflex, too. Like, a common tactic described in the text is loitering near the massive overhead doors of the service bays.
Oh, right, waiting for a technician.
Exactly. They wait for a tired technician who is walking out to their truck.
Yeah.
The technician pushes the exit door open and, out of sheer human politeness, holds the door open for a split second.
Just a reflex.
Right, a polite reflex. And the customer tailgates them right into the restricted area, or they'll seek out the newest employee.
The rookie.
The rookie who hasn't yet learned the harsh realities of retail boundaries, and they'll leverage a sad story to get that employee to unlock a side door.
Okay, let me play devil's advocate for a second here.
Go for it.
Because a car is an incredibly vital asset. It's usually the second most expensive thing a person owns, and they need it to function in society. So if I'm listening to this, I might think, okay, the advisor is tired. But isn't the core of customer service about occasionally going above and beyond? Why is drawing such a hard, unyielding line at closing time so universally recommended in this book?
Yeah.
I mean, is it fair to say the customer's lack of planning becomes a direct assault on the advisor's personal life?
That is a completely fair question, and it's the exact trap that new managers fall into all the time.
Right.
To answer it, we really have to look at the real-world stakes for the employee, which the source material lays out very clearly. Protecting personal time isn't just about, wanting to go sit on a couch and watch television.
Yeah.
It's about the fundamental logistics of a working adult's life. When that customer breaches the building, they are demanding that the advisor's life instantly pause.
And the text gives great concrete examples of what pausing actually costs the employee.
Yeah.
We're talking about an advisor who might be rushing out the door to pick up a child before their daycare facility closes.
Yeah.
And if you have kids, daycare late fees are not forgiving.
Oh, they are brutal.
They're astronomical, often charged by the minute.
Mm-hmm.
And they come with the threat of expulsion if it happens too often.
Exactly. The advisor might be rushing to a specialist doctor's appointment that took 3 months to schedule. They might be trying to salvage a dinner reservation booked weeks in advance for a spouse's birthday. Or, honestly, they might just want to get home to decompress so they don't burn out and quit the industry entirely. When the customer forces their way in, they are implicitly stating, "My failure to plan my afternoon is now more important than your family, your health, and your finances."
Man, when you frame it that way, it strips away the illusion of good customer service and reveals it as a hostile act.
It really is.
Because when the customer knocks on the glass, they just see a uniform.
Yeah.
They don't see the daycare late fees or the waiting spouse. They just see a mechanism to get their keys.
Right, but the employee sitting on the other side feels trapped, like a hostage.
Yeah. The customer's lack of planning literally becomes a direct assault on the advisor's personal life.
And assault might sound like a strong word, but in terms of psychological boundaries, it is accurate. The posted hours on the door represent a social contract.
Right.
By ignoring that contract, the customer forces the advisor into an impossible emotional corner. The advisor has to choose between protecting their own life and being perceived as rude or unhelpful. It places an immense, unfair emotional burden on an individual who has already depleted their empathy reserves over the last 10 hours.
Which brings up a really fascinating psychological question. Why doesn't the customer feel an overwhelming sense of guilt?
Right, you would think they would.
Because if I walked into a restaurant as the chairs were being put on the tables, I would feel mortified. Yet, last minute, Sally bangs on the glass with total righteousness. What is happening in her brain?
Well, the source material provides a brilliant, concise breakdown of this phenomenon. It labels it the customer logic loop.
Logic loop.
Yeah. It's a 3-step cognitive process that completely insulates the customer from experiencing any guilt whatsoever. The loop operates like this. Step 1. My car is physically located here.
Okay.
Step 2, I am physically located here right now.
Right.
Step 3, therefore, I should get my car regardless of the time or the operational status of the business.
Right. It is so incredibly rudimentary. My car. Me. Give me.
Exactly.
It completely removes the human element of the transaction.
It does. And that removal is intentional, albeit subconscious. To understand this mindset, we have to examine how modern consumers view a closed business. The text explicitly states that customers do not view a dealership or a repair shop as a complex human operation with interconnected systems, liabilities, and labor laws.
What do they view it as then?
They view it as a vending machine. And what is the expectation of a vending machine? It should dispense the product on demand 24 hours a day as long as you push the right buttons.
That makes total sense, especially when you consider the broader context of our economy right now. I mean, we live in the era of Amazon Prime, instant downloads, 247 digital storefronts.
Yep. Everything is instant.
We've been conditioned to believe that commerce is frictionless and timeless. So when Sally encounters a locked door, she is experiencing severe cognitive dissonance.
She's completely time blind.
Right. She doesn't blame her own timing. She blames the physical barrier. As the text says, she blames the lock, not the clock.
That is a critical distinction, because if she can see a human being inside the building, her brain equates that to the business still being operational.
Here's where it gets really interesting, actually. Think about this analogy. It's like arriving after a play has ended. The applause has faded, the curtains are down, house lights are off.
Okay.
You're walking through the parking lot, and you spot the lead actor, dressed in their street clothes, unlocking their car to go home. You jog over, tap them on the shoulder, and demand they walk back into the dark theater, put their costume back on, and perform the final act just for you, simply because the stage is still technically sitting there inside the building.
That is a brilliant comparison.
Because it sounds completely irrational.
Right.
But the logic loop dictates that if the stage exists and the actor is in the building, the play can still be performed.
Exactly. And it happens every single day.
Let's talk about the specific language customers use in these moments too, because the book highlights one specific word that I think anyone who has worked in any form of service will instantly recognize.
Oh, I know exactly what word you're going to say.
It is the most dangerous, manipulative word in the English language, the word just.
Just. The linguistic weight of that single syllable is massive.
It really is. The customer phrasing is always some variation of, I just need my keys, or can't someone just run to the back real quick?
Yeah, just grab it for me.
Right. I love how Brendan Eagle phrases this in the text. He says the word just is doing Olympic-level work in those sentences. It's designed to minimize the massive logistical request being made.
Let's translate what just actually means in operational reality, though.
Please.
When a customer says, I just need to grab my car, they are attempting to make the transaction sound as simple as handing over a pen.
Yeah.
But the expert translation of that request is vastly different. What they are actually demanding is reopen your secure networks, re-authenticate your cashier software, accept legal liability for a $30,000 asset without the support staff present.
Wow.
And most importantly, reopen your evening and stay late entirely for free. Because remember, they're off the clock.
Right.
So the customer uses just to erase the labor involved in their request. It's asking an employee to stay late for free because the customer didn't respect a posted boundary.
Okay, I have a confession, though.
What's up?
Before I read the source material, I might have been slightly sympathetic to last minute Sally. Because, on the surface, handing over a key does seem like it should take 30 seconds. Like, why can't you just grab the key off the board and hand it to her? I can walk up to a gas station pump and swipe my credit card. Why is a dealership or a repair shop any different? Explain the actual mechanism behind the hard stop here.
Okay. This is where we transition from the emotional argument to the rigid, mechanical reality of system processes. It is vital for you, the listener, to understand that the refusal to hand over the keys is not personal. It is process. The text outlines the chain of custody for a vehicle repair very clearly. A car is a highly regulated, high-liability asset. You cannot simply hand the keys to a vehicle over without officially closing the repair ticket.
Right, because the keys are fundamentally tied to payment and legal release.
Precisely. And payment is tied directly to the cashier systems and the dealership management software. This is where your gas station analogy breaks down.
Okay, how so?
A gas station pump is an automated, standalone gateway. Dealership and repair shop software is highly complex, legacy accounting infrastructure. At closing time, say 6 p.m., the cashiers execute a process called batching out.
Let me stop you there because batching out is definitely industry jargon. Break down what that actually means for the average person. Why is batching out a point of no return?
Think of the daily payment system like pouring a concrete foundation.
Okay.
Throughout the business day, that concrete is wet and moldable. Transactions go in, adjustments are made, refunds are processed. It's fluid. But at 6 p.m., the cashier hits a specific command that settles the credit card machines with the merchant bank and balances the entire day's ledger against the internal accounting software.
So it sets.
Yes. At that moment, the concrete cures. It hardens permanently. The daily batch is sent to the bank to ensure the business actually gets paid the thousands of dollars it earned that day.
So if a customer walks in at 6 p.m. and demands to pay for their car,
you can't just swipe their card. You would have to force the system to open a new, isolated transaction. This creates what's called an orphan receipt.
An orphan receipt?
Yeah, it doesn't belong to the finalized day, but technically happen before the next business day opens. In many accounting systems, this causes massive discrepancies. It can trigger fraud alerts, delay the entire day's bank deposit, and require hours of manual reconciliation by the accounting department the next morning.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So asking an advisor to just process one more payment after the batch is settled isn't asking them to push a button. Using our analogy, it's asking them to take a jackhammer to a cured concrete foundation, pour new cement, and wait for it to dry all over again, all while they're supposed to be off the clock.
That makes so much sense. It completely shatters the illusion of the 30-second transaction.
Completely.
And beyond the software, there is the physical liability.
Yeah.
I mean, the service technicians who actually park the cars are gone. What if Sally's car is blocked in by 3 other vehicles in the back lot?
Good luck moving those.
Exactly. What if there is a discrepancy on the invoice and she wants to dispute a charge? The entire safety net of a fully staffed, operational business has been dismantled for the night.
The author hits on this exactly. When a customer demands after-hours service, they are asking the advisor to absorb all of that systemic risk. They are saying, I want you to risk your employment, violate company accounting policies, and take on personal liability for this vehicle solely so I do not have to feel the consequences of my timing.
I think we need to hear what this actually sounds like.
Oh, like a role play.
Yeah, let's script a fully dramatized, tense confrontation. Let's imagine a tired service advisor who has shut everything down, batched the concrete, and suddenly finds themselves face-to-face with a highly difficult last-minute Sally who slipped in through a side door.
Okay, I'll play the tired advisor.
Perfect, and I'll play the difficult customer. Ready?
Yeah. So I am sitting at my desk. My monitor is black. The lights above me are off. My coat is on, and I'm holding my car keys, walking toward the exit.
And I come rushing up from the hallway. I'm slightly out of breath, carrying a heavy purse, and I look instantly annoyed that you are walking away. Oh, good, you're still here. I need to pick up my SUV, the silver one. The name is Sally.
I stop, startled and trying to maintain a polite tone. Oh, ma'am. I am so sorry, but the service department actually closed at 6. The cashiers have all gone home, and our payment systems are completely shut down for the night.
I roll my eyes and let out a very heavy, dramatic sigh. Okay, but I'm here right now. The car's right out back. I saw it through the fence when I drove in. I just need my keys. It'll take 2 seconds. I can see them hanging right there on the wall behind you.
I understand you can see the vehicle and the keys, but I don't have a way to process your final invoice. The accounting software is locked out and batched until tomorrow morning. I physically cannot release the keys without capturing the payment and having you sign the legal release.
Now I'm leaning over the counter, pointing my finger, moving into heavy guilt manipulation. Listen to me. I have to get to work tomorrow morning at 6 a.m. I am a neonatal nurse. I save babies for a living, and I cannot be without my car. You guys are the ones who took all day to fix the brakes in the first place. Can't you just print something real quick, or let me leave you my credit card number on a sticky note? I'll call tomorrow, and you can run it then. I am not leaving this building without my car.
I take a step back, feeling the anxiety spike. Ma'am, I truly apologize for the inconvenience, and I respect what you do, but I am off the clock. Releasing a vehicle without a closed ticket is a massive liability. I could literally lose my job for handing over those keys without processing it through the system. We open at 7 a.m. tomorrow, and we will make you our absolute first priority.
I raise my voice, creating a scene in the empty room. This is absolutely ridiculous. I am standing right in front of you with money. Where is your manager?
Yeah.
I want a manager right now. You are providing terrible customer service.
Unseen. That is the nightmare scenario that plays out in thousands of businesses every evening.
My stomach was genuinely in knots, just pretending to be that customer.
It's stressful.
Let's dissect the tactics I used there, because the manipulation is really layered. First, I used the visual proximity of the keys to argue against your process.
Right. I can see them right there.
Then, I weaponized my profession, being a nurse, to establish moral high ground and induce guilt.
Which happens constantly, by the way. People leverage their jobs, their kids, their medical issues.
And finally, I offered terrible compromises, like leaving a credit card number on a sticky note, which shifts the burden of payment security entirely onto you.
It is a masterclass in deflection. The customer is attempting to make the advisor feel like a villain for enforcing the rules of time and space.
Right.
Notice how the customer's request is entirely self-centered. They are threatening the advisor's livelihood, their job security, just to avoid the friction of having to call an Uber or find a ride to work the next morning.
Which brings us to the most critical pivot point in this entire scenario. In that role play, I demanded a manager.
Yes, you did.
When this confrontation boils over, the outcome and the emotional survival of that advisor depends entirely on who is standing behind them in that office. Let's talk about the role of leadership here.
The source material takes a very hard, direct stance on this. Leadership choices in the micro moments of closing time dictate the macro morale of the entire team.
How so?
Let's imagine a manager hears that shouting match. They walk out of their office, they see the angry nurse, and decide they just want the situation to go away.
To avoid the confrontation.
Right. So they override the system, boot the computer back up, take the payment, and hand over the keys to save the customer experience.
By doing that, they have just completely thrown their own employee under the bus.
They have entirely betrayed the team. The text states a harsh truth here. If management does not respect the advisor's time, the message transmitted to the staff is crystal clear. It tells the employee, your personal life, your family time, and your dignity are optional. Their convenience is not.
Wow. It's the ultimate morale killer.
Exactly.
And let's follow the psychological ripple effect of that manager's decision.
Yeah.
What did that manager just teach last minute, Sally?
They taught her that the posted business hours are fake.
Fake boundaries.
They taught her that if she throws a large enough tantrum and leverages enough guilt, the rules will bend for her.
And what did they teach the advisor? They taught the advisor that company policy only matters until it becomes slightly uncomfortable for management to enforce.
Exactly. It creates a culture of learner helplessness among the staff. I mean, why should the advisor ever try to enforce a boundary if they know management is just going to come out, play the hero, and make the advisor look like an obstructionist jerk?
So how do we fix this broken dynamic? How does a frontline worker handle this without having a panic attack every night at 6 p.m.?
Well, the source material introduces Brandon Eagle's specific coaching strategy for rookies who freeze in the headlights of an angry late customer. And his advice is incredibly grounding. He tells his staff, quote, "You're allowed to let the lock do its job."
I love that. You're allowed to let the lock do its job.
It's a great sentence. It completely removes the burden of rejection from the human being. The lock is not an opinion, it is a physical manifestation of a corporate boundary.
And Brandon builds his coaching on 3 foundational pillars, right? Designed to protect the mental health of his staff.
Yes, 3 pillars.
Let's explore those. What is pillar number 1?
Pillar 1 is, stop personalizing their emergency. Brandon reminds his advisors that last minute Sally had access to the exact same posted hours that everyone else did.
She knew when they closed.
She had the same 10-hour window to retrieve her vehicle. Her choice to gamble with her schedule and show up late is not your moral failure. You do not have to absorb her panic into your nervous system.
Not your moral failure.
Yeah.
That is a massive paradigm shift for a customer service worker who has been trained to be a people pleaser. You're allowed to let their lack of planning remain their problem.
Exactly.
What's the second pillar?
Pillar 2 is use the building as your boundary. This is highly practical. If the main doors are locked and the systems are shut down, you do not reopen the night just because someone is waving dramatically through the glass.
Right.
You don't pantomime conversations through the window. The cashier is closed, therefore the answer is, we are closed.
And the third pillar, which I completely violated in our bad roleplay scenario, is don't negotiate with guilt.
Right. When the customer hits you with the tragic backstory, I'm a nurse, I can't be without my car, I have to pick up my kids, Brandon provides a very specific conversational framework.
Which is?
You do not argue their logistics. You don't say, well, you should have left earlier.
Right, that just escalates things.
Exactly. You say, I understand it is extremely frustrating. Our payment systems are closed, and we cannot legally release vehicles after hours. We will take care of you as soon as we open tomorrow.
Simple and firm.
The text beautifully describes this approach as having empathy in the tone, steel in the policy.
Empathy in the tone, steel in the policy. I want to see that in action. Let's run a second scripted role play.
Let's do it.
Let's rewind the clock. Same scenario. I have slipped through the side door. I am angry. But this time, I want you to apply Brandon's 3 pillars. You be the advisor holding the line.
Okay, I'm ready. I am walking to the exit, keys in hand.
I storm up the hallway. Excuse me. I know you are closed, but the bay door was open. I'm here now, and I need my SUV. Sally, I just need my keys.
I stop. I do not drop my keys or take my coat off. I look directly at you, keeping my voice incredibly calm and measured. Hi, Sally. I understand you are anxious to get your vehicle back, and I know it is incredibly frustrating to arrive right after we've locked the doors. Unfortunately, our cashier systems shut down and batch out automatically at 6 p.m., and the technicians who handle the vehicles have left for the day. We are closed for tonight, but we will be happy to help you first thing at 7 a.m. tomorrow.
Are you kidding me? I have to go to work. I'm a nurse. You're telling me I am stranded here because you won't just turn a computer monitor back on.
I completely hear how stressful that is, and if I had a way to process this for you tonight, I would. But because the accounting systems are batched and offline, I physically cannot release a vehicle after hours. It is a hard lock in our system. I will make sure your paperwork is sitting at the very top of the desk the moment we open tomorrow morning so we can get you on your way immediately.
I narrow my eyes. I'm going to complain to your general manager about this. This is ridiculous.
I give a polite, brief nod. You are absolutely welcome to speak with management tomorrow morning when we reopen, Sally. Have a safe night. And I continue walking out the door. Scene.
Wow. The difference in the energy there was night and day.
Notice how different it felt.
Yeah. You didn't apologize for the existence of the policy. You didn't over-explain the accounting software. And most importantly, you didn't offer any desperate compromises. You just became an immovable wall of extreme politeness.
And notice how I didn't engage with the fact that you were a nurse.
Right.
I acknowledged the stress, but I didn't let your personal life dictate my professional boundaries. The text points out why this specific execution is so critical. Every single time an employee or manager caves to the guilt, they are actively training the next last-minute Sally to try the exact same stunt.
Empathy goes a long way, but it has to start at the top. If it isn't married to firm boundaries, it just becomes a vehicle for customer abuse. And to formalize this entire philosophy, the source material provides what I consider the absolute crown jewel of this chapter. It is a blueprint, almost a manifesto, for both the staff behind the counter and the consumers standing in front of it.
Yes, the 10 rules.
It outlines the 10 rules for managing after-hours service requests.
This list is a masterclass in operational self-respect. It systematically dismantles the entitlement we've been discussing and replaces it with predictable logic. We really need to spend significant time unpacking each of these rules because they offer profound insights into modern consumer psychology.
Absolutely. Let's dive deep into the 10 rules. Rule 1, respect posted hours. And the text drops a fantastic quote here. Closing time is a boundary, not a vibe.
I love that phrasing, not a vibe. In our highly personalized, customized culture, people tend to treat operational rules as mere suggestions. Like it's a vibe that can be negotiated based on their personal charisma or their perceived level of need.
Right, like, oh, they close at 6, but they're chill. I can slide in at 6:10.
Exactly. But Rule 1 shatters that. It establishes that a physical building containing human workers has a hard, unyielding stop. Your schedule as a customer is not a surprise plot twist that requires everyone else in the building to rewrite their evening plans.
It sets the baseline of reality, which leads perfectly into Rule 2. Plan your pickup like an adult, not a main character.
Main character syndrome is the sociological engine driving last-minute Sally. Rule 2 forces the consumer to acknowledge that they exist in a shared physical reality.
There are other people in the world.
Yes. Time is a real construct. Traffic on the highway exists, lines at the cashier desk exist, the fact that you might have a last-minute question about your invoice exists. Failing to account for the friction of reality does not magically create emergency for the staff.
If you are listening to this right now and you know a business closes at 6:40 p.m. and you choose to leave your house at 5:45 p.m. for a 20-minute drive,
You're going to be late.
you are not a victim of traffic. You are making a conscious choice to be late. You are gambling that the business will bend for you. And when you lose that gamble, you cannot demand the house pay you out anyway.
Exactly. Which brings us to Rule 3, which is visually hilarious but addresses a serious safety issue. Don't stock the building.
Stop acting like it's a heist movie.
Right. We touched on this earlier, but it is so true. Why do perfectly normal, law-abiding citizens suddenly turn into cat burglars when a retail store is closed?
It's so weird. They circle the perimeter, they peer through cracks in the blinds, they yank violently on heavy glass doors.
If you saw someone doing that to a private residence, you would dial 911 immediately.
Without hesitation.
But because it is a place of commerce, people feel entitled to physically test the security of the building. Rule 3 is a reality check. Yanking on locked doors does not make you look determined. It makes you the reason commercial security cameras were invented. If the department is closed, the game is over. Go home and come back tomorrow.
Now, Rules 4 and 5 shift the focus away from the physical building and deal directly with the process and the human beings trapped inside. Rule 4. Keys follow payment, not your tragic backstory.
This rule is the armor for the service advisor. We talked extensively about the concrete analogy and the batching out of systems. The text is unyielding on this point. Emotional monologues don't reboot closed software.
They really don't.
Unless there is a prearranged, signed agreement to leave a key in a lockbox, vehicles are only released after the financial transaction is complete. The accounting software does not have a module for your tears, your anger, or your job title. It only recognizes closed invoices.
It is the ultimate equalizer. And Rule 5 humanizes the other side of that transaction. Rule 5. Advisors are humans, not hostages.
This might be the most empathetic rule in the book. It forces the customer to recognize the person behind the uniform. Service advisors have kids waiting for dinner.
Yeah.
They have pets that need to be let out. They have spouses, second jobs, long commutes. Their lives do not orbit around your delayed arrival. Expecting them to sacrifice their personal time is not demanding great customer service. It is you, the customer, loudly announcing, "My time has inherent value, yours does not."
That entitlement is what Brandon Eagle is aggressively targeting. And Rule 6 continues that exact thought process. Don't ask staff to donate personal time so you don't feel the consequence of your choices. Don't ask them to break the process just this once.
There's that word "just" again.
Always.
Rule 6 explains that when you ask an employee to just run back and grab the car, you are asking them to defy company policy, override secure systems, and risk disciplinary action so that you are insulated from the friction of your own choices. If fulfilling a customer's late request requires reopening batch systems or resummoning staff who have already clocked out, the answer must be a hard institutional no.
Which leads us to the natural conclusion of that no, which is Rule 7. Accept the consequence, not just the convenience. Accept the cause and effect.
Right. If you arrive after the doors are locked, the only honest, appropriate answer from the business is, "We will see you tomorrow."
And the text makes a profound philosophical point here. Hearing "see you tomorrow" is not a punishment.
No, it's not.
It is not poor customer service. It is simply the mechanics of cause and effect. You miss the operational window, as the author brilliantly and bluntly puts it. The universe remains undefeated.
I love that quote. The universe remains undefeated. You cannot argue with linear time.
You really can't. Now, Rules 8 and 9 pivot away from the customer and are directed squarely at the management team. And honestly, these might be the most critical rules for the long-term health and profitability of a business. Rule 8, management's duty. Back your advisors, not the drama.
This is a direct challenge to the weak leadership we discussed in that bad role play. When last-minute Sally storms the desk and starts escalating the situation, the manager has to actively resist the urge to play the hero at the team's expense.
It's so tempting for them, though.
Oh, it is. But every single time a manager caves for a one-time save to quiet down a yelling customer, they fracture the trust of their employees.
Yeah.
You mutate strict corporate policy into a mere suggestion, and you broadcast to your staff that you will not protect them.
It creates a totally toxic workplace. Stop turning policy into a suggestion.
Right.
So how does a manager de-escalate the customer without betraying the staff? That is Rule 9. Lead with empathy, not enablement.
Rule 9 provides the behavioral roadmap for leaders. A manager can be incredibly kind, validating, and professional while still holding the line. Walking out to the lobby and saying, "I am so sorry you missed us. I know you need this car, and we will take phenomenal care of you the absolute second we open tomorrow." That is demonstrating empathy.
But dragging your team back to their desks to reopen systems because a customer threatened to leave a bad Yelp review.
That is enablement. That is martyrdom. And the text issues a very strong command to managers regarding this behavior. Don't volunteer your staff as tribute.
Volunteer your staff as tribute. It is such a visceral image, right out of the Hunger Games.
Seriously.
It perfectly captures that helpless feeling an employee has when a manager sacrifices their evening just to appease an unreasonable consumer.
It is a profound failure of leadership.
And finally, we arrive at Rule 10, which circles back to the customer's self-awareness. Rule 10, legacy. Behavior writes its own review.
We spend so much time in modern commerce talking about customers reviewing businesses. We obsess over 5-star ratings and online feedback. But this rule reminds consumers that businesses and the humans who run them remember customers too.
Oh, they definitely do.
If you consistently show up late, demand exceptions, and leverage guilt against the staff, you do not gain the status of a valued guest.
You become a warning label. Don't become the cautionary tale in a training meeting.
Precisely. You become last minute, Sally. You become the cautionary tale. The staff sees your name on the schedule and their blood pressure spikes. The text issues a final challenge to the consumer. Choose how you want to be remembered in the world. Do you want to be known as the rational adult who respected boundaries? Or do you want to be the punchline of the legend titled, "That One Time at Closing"?
Looking at these 10 rules holistically, what's fascinating here is how brilliantly they balance the scales. They manage to do two completely different things simultaneously. On one hand, they protect managers from the pressure of becoming martyrs. On the other hand, they deeply support the mental health of the frontline staff without ever requiring them to be rude or aggressive.
Yeah, it's a complete framework. It removes the heat, the emotion, and the guilt from the end of the day.
It really does.
That is the ultimate value of the source material. It replaces the chaos of emotional manipulation with the calm predictability of clear consequences. When everyone, both staff and consumer, understands and respects the hard boundary of closing time, the entire interaction becomes depersonalized. It is no longer a battle of wills. It is simply an acknowledgement of reality.
As we start to bring this deep dive to a close, let's recap the core themes we've pulled from Brandon Eagle's work. The overarching lesson that resonates through every page of this chapter is that last-minute pickups are rarely about an actual unsolvable logistical need. Yes, people need their cars, but the crisis of 6 p.m. is almost entirely manufactured by entitlement.
It's all about entitlement.
It is the deep-seated entitlement of assuming that an employee's time is inherently less valuable than a customer's convenience. The importance of maintaining professional boundaries at work just can't be overstated.
It really can't. And this highlights the absolute non-negotiable importance for staff to protect their personal life after clocking out. We cannot overstate the psychological necessity for service industry staff to aggressively protect that time. The transition from worker back to human being is sacred.
Yeah.
Brandon Eagle's takeaway serves as the ultimate permission slip for service workers everywhere. The message is clear. You do not owe the late customer your evening. You owe yourself the right to have an evening.
And if you are the customer standing on the outside of that glass, your problem is not with the service advisor who won't open the door. Your problem is with the clock. You lost the race against time today, and that is okay. You try again tomorrow. I want to highlight the ultimate takeaway quote from the text because it summarizes the philosophy of this entire deep dive perfectly. The author writes, "If you only respect a boundary when it serves you, it was never the boundary you valued, only the shortcut."
That is a staggering truth. And it is a truth that applies far beyond the walls of a dealership service department. It applies to our relationships, our digital communication, and how we navigate society as a whole. Which leaves us with a final provocative thought for you, the listener, to mull over as you go about your week.
What's the question we should be asking ourselves?
Well, in an era where we can click a button on a screen and buy something online 24 hours a day, where algorithms cater to our every impulse instantly, have we as a society forgotten how to interact with real physical human beings who have actual closing times?
That's a great question.
When you see a locked door, do you immediately see that lock as a hostile barrier to your convenience? Or are you capable of seeing it as a necessary boundary, quietly protecting someone else's humanity?
That is a perspective shift that changes everything. Think about that the next time you find yourself cupping your hands to the glass, peering into a dark lobby like a confused raccoon. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive.
Here they come, rolling in the drive. You can hear a bunch of loose tools and parts rolling around their trunk. Now they want you to put the parts on. Their Uncle Rick diagnosed the car in his backyard under a tree. Your Guide to Customer Service by Brandon Eagle. You can find it on Amazon and Kindle.
Thank you for listening to Discover You Radio's Discussions. We'd like to invite you to research who was spotlighted on this episode. And if they have a website, join their mailing list. Thank you for your support.